Okay, hi. I'm going to try and go through the Chenrezig practice that we're doing on Tuesday nights very quickly so that those who come there can have a good idea of what to do. Now, first, we recite the three refuges in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent. I take my refuge until enlightenment is reached. May I, through merit gained by generosity, discipline, and such, accomplish Buddhahood for all beings' sake. So when we do this, we visualize Chenrezig in front of us and take the three refuges. I think those words are kind of obvious, although we could probably go through that prayer another time, greater depth. Then what happens is after you take the three refuges and Chenrezig melts into light, dissolves into you, it becomes one with you, and then you meditate on your natural state, which is you don't have to, which is perfection itself. You don't have to do anything to improve it. Just let thoughts come and go on their own, and then just when you get distracted, go back to being aware. For those of you who've had more extensive meditation experience and or who've gotten some instruction, then you may understand this in a deeper way. Although, so now you rest there for a while. How long you can see, that depends on the timing. If you're doing it on your own at home, then you could sure take longer, which you should. 10, 15 minutes, right? You're not going to get it better the longer you do it, but, just you may want to do that. And then, now, of course, when we do it as a group, we may do it shorter. Then what happens is, then from that, from resting there, next you come out of that and you meditate on compassion for all those who don't understand about the natural state of mind. They think that they've always got to busy themselves. In other words, they're not content with resting there and allowing the arising and cessation, right? The arising and passing. They think that there's a lot more, like there's a lot more to do, or they get bored with it and they're not. So then, those beings create a lot of suffering for themselves. They don't know the departure point for spiritual practice. We reflect on the unhappiness of beings in general and the suffering of the various beings who, the different creatures that live in what we call worldly existence. So we develop compassion for them, and it might be in a contrived way, and then we stay with that for a while. And then after that, we come out of that, and then what appears is a seed syllable, and I'll read you the text. Crowning the head of each and every being, whose numbers match the boundlessness of space, there rests a lotus white and full moon seat. From her he appears the great all-seeing one, kindness in his eyes and smiling face. Of his four hands a pair are joined in prayer, the left the lotus holds, and in the right a crystal rosary. With silks he is adorned, with gems and ornaments of gold, and over his shoulder falls a dear soft pelt. Immutable he sits, resting his back against the stainless moon. All Buddhas in essence joined. The Buddha boundless light adorns his head, all Buddhas in essence joined. I forget what it says. You have it there in front of you. Okay. So, I may have gotten one or two words wrong. So then, from that Hri, light from the Hri that's on the head of every single sentient being, there's a lotus, a lotus seed with a flat moon-like disc in its center that's radiating light and it's cool. And then on top of that is a Hri, and then the Hri is like a neon light. Very, very, very fine if you can do it. If you can think of it as very fine. You know what I mean? But very brilliant light. And it's Hri, H-R-I, like a neon sign. It radiates out light and makes offerings to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And it brings back their blessing. And that comes back and dissolves into the Hri. And then the Hri changes instantaneously then into Chenrezig. And the Chenrezig is the union of all the Buddhas, of all their wisdom, and especially of their compassion. Chenrezig is a specialist in that. And then what you do is there's lots of prayers in the text, but in short, what you do is you have the next prayer that you supplicate Chenrezig with. O Lord of brightest form, not clothed by fault, whose head a perfect Buddha, crowns in light, whose compassionate eyes see each living thing, to you all seeing when I bow my head. And then what happens is, having prayed this way with mindfulness, it says, light shining from the holy form removes all impure karma and bewilderment. The outer realm becomes the realm of bliss. Each living being's body, speech, and mind, to all seeing one's three faculties are changed. All knowledge, sound, and all appearing forms become inseparable from emptiness. Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay, so what happens is this. This is the very unique part of this. Very unique. Very special, really, way of practicing. Unique to the tantric method. Okay, so let's see here. Light shines from Chenrezig's body, and it touches everyone and everything in the universe, and all of the beings turn into Chenrezig. The real Chenrezig, all of them. Now, whether or not they know that they are, that's another matter. All of them. But you know, you are transformed into Chenrezig too, and so then you have all these things. We'll discuss that. All the accoutrements. And I guess Chenrezig could melt into light and dissolve into you too. And then in your heart you have a Hri. We won't go into what's in your heart. And the Buddha Amitabha adorns your head. And you're the essence of all the three refuges. And now, okay, so there's three things, three exercises you do when you become Chenrezig. First of all, there's pride. It's, I guess you could call it spiritual pride, a kind of, not an ordinary pride. And then there's the clear visualization of the parts, which takes some time, and finally the meaning of the meaning of all the parts. See, now this to us, this isn't significant. This is just some artifact, some exercise. But to someone who knows what Chenrezig is about and knows, you know, all the teachings about it, and has been experiencing, has been relating to Chenrezig and praying to Chenrezig for help for all their lives, this is a very radical thing. This song, this is teaching us that we then become Chenrezig. She's not something over there in front of us, like just a statue. He's our nature. We are Chenrezig. So that's a very profound thing, but it's not that it's the Chenrezig of the, there, my throat is better, of our usual kind of crazy, me, you know, neurotic idea I have of myself that's tied in with all kinds of nasty projections, with all my history of crazy things that I was doing since I was little. It's Chenrezig is your perfect nature that's appearing in that form, and you're introduced to that every time after the three refuges dissolves into you. You rest your mind naturally, then you're experiencing that nature appears as Chenrezig. There's no more than I can say about that. We'd be talking too long. Okay? So it's not an ordinary me. Then, with that special nature appearing as Chenrezig, there's a clear visualization of the parts of Chenrezig. You know, of the hands. That's an exercise in concentration The hands, the things that the hands holds, what clothes it wears, all the jewels. You know, there's different levels of, there's the body shape, the color, the number of arms, then there's the kinds of clothes, and then there's another level of complexity with all the various jewels and that. Right. So that's a meditation exercise we do, which we'll have to describe again longer at another time. But you take the body and maybe start from the top down and go over each part briefly and visualize it maybe for 1 or 2 minutes or 3 or 4. If you do this, scanning the body and visualizing each part, you know, 2, 3 minutes at a time, then you will get more and more familiar with the veneration of Chenrezig, her activity, right? So the more you visualize it clearly, then your pride grows, the belief that you're Chenrezig. That's important, right? And then finally, the third thing, the exercise of this special meditation practice called generation stage needs, is an understanding of the symbolism of the body. Remember, for me, for instance, I'm not growing up in a culture that thinks that this Chenrezig is anything in particular. It's just some strange statue. So, but it does have that. So, one way of overcoming this problem is by considering the meaning of all the things that he holds, and of his color, his shape, his smile, the deer pelt over his back. He's sitting on a lotus. All these things are symbolic meaning. Well, they're not. The symbolic meaning doesn't give it justice. These, all the accoutrements, all the things that he holds, are indicative of the meaning of our ultimate mind. So they're indicative of the meaning of the nature of mind, of ultimate truth. And again, we immersed ourselves in after we merged with Chenrezig. Our Chenrezig merged with us.